name is Gentil-Kraatz, and this is my video presentation for the module Informing Context of the Photography MA at Falmouth University. My photography project for this MA is called Reflections on Racism, and it started in 2020. On the eve of Holocaust Memorial Day, my local bank and a Jamaican restaurant were targeted with neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic and white supremacist graffitis. And then the murder of George Floyd happened in the United States as I was about to start the course. I decided to research the topic of racism as a learning project to try and understand what it was all about, to see what other people had been through, and to get their general thoughts about the topic. I was interested in their personal stories and their personal perceptions. I had experienced a lot of racism in France, and I initially thought the situation was much better in England, as it was difficult to pinpoint why some people were unfriendly. Was it because of a racial aspect or because of a social class difference? I soon realized that many people were suffering from racism here in England, overt racism. In her book, British, Afua Hirsch mentions the situation of a young black man who, by the age of 18, has already been stopped and searched by the police 44 times. One of my sitters, who is a researcher, also raised the point of institutional racism. In the healthcare system, there are clear differences. An article in Sky News published on the 25th of November 2020 reveals that the death rate for black women giving birth is 5 times higher than for white women. During my first module, Positions in Practice, I focused my attention on the black experience, and in the second module, Sustainable Prospects, I looked at xenophobia, the anti-Chinese sentiment, and interviewed and photographed people of Chinese descent. During this module, Informing Context, I decided to focus on what Latin American people were and are experiencing in Latin America, Europe, and in the UK. I had no idea if there was even racism in Latin America, so it was a good way to push my research further. With this photo project called Reflections on Racism, my aim is to get the viewers, the audience, to reflect on and question their own ideas and perceptions about racism, where they face people who have experienced it or have something to say about it. I want to get close to the people I interview and photograph, to share their emotions, their anguish, their vulnerability, or their strength. I want to create a reaction, and in some ways at times a confrontation. The aim is to create a link between the sitters and the viewers through the photographs. Maybe the dialogue could start and continue during the private views when the photographs are exhibited and when sitters and viewers can actually meet in person. When viewing the pictures, I'm aware that the reaction has been, is, and will be different from one person to another, depending on their own ideas, their backgrounds, and how comfortable they are with the topic. Generally, I'm more interested in what a photograph can do, rather than what it is. In the book Photography and Activism, Michel Bougre states that the successes of Rees, Hine, and the Farm Security Administration FSA photographers established the fact that photographs were and continue to be the most effective method of communicating a verifiable truth about social injustice while evoking an emotional response from the viewer. That emotional response provokes action, putting pressure on those with the power to do something. It might be a bit ambitious, but I would love to see a change in society as I learn, question, and fight against racism. During this module, I will keep on expanding the work and research generally, and will take the opportunity to explore different ways to combine text and quotes with or within the images. For the very first time, I also want to work in collaboration with my sitters, and I've asked them to share some of their own pictures. It's a way to get much closer to them, as I cannot actually go to their homes because of the pandemic. As Michel Bougre wrote in her book Photography and Activism, the best documentary photographers pay very close attention to everything that is happening in the lives of the people they are getting to know. I do not have the time to expand now, but for inspiration, I'm currently looking at the work by Shirin Neshat, Leah Abril, Barbara Kruger, Jim Goldberg, and Wendy Ewald. I have started experimenting with the pictures taken of Isabella, a young Brazilian woman. I combined my pictures in black and white and her own personal phone pictures and screenshots in color, and I added the text in Brazilian Portuguese. I had asked her to write these after the interview. It's my very first experimentation, and I'm quite pleased with this initial result. It's very different from the pictures created in the first two modules, but it gives a real insight into her life and gets much closer and personal. I also like the addition of color pictures and text within the pictures and not just on the side. This module, I've taken pictures of Begonia, Mauricio and their daughters. I've turned their pictures into black and white, and I would like to try and present Begonia and Mauricio as a couple and pair their pictures with some quotes possibly in between. I've taken pictures of Chris, who lived in Argentina for several years. But the interviews with him last almost 3 hours, so it's taking me a very long time to transcribe. Some quotes from his interviews are particularly insightful, and I would like to insert some of them into the pictures, maybe by emulating the style of Iranian photographer Shirin Neshat. My initial plan was to publish a book towards the end of the MA. We learned in the last module, Sustainable Prospects, that self-publishing a book was expensive and not a guarantee to actually sell the books. You also need a lot of space to store them. I would like to handmake a special edition of my Reflection on Racism book, so I have just enrolled to complete several bookbinding courses with CityLit, a college for adults in central London. A friend in Romania has just started a publishing company, and once I have a more consistent draft, I will liaise with him to see if it would be possible to publish a limited signed edition. Once I have a book ready, I would like to organize one or several exhibitions or events in London so that viewers and sitters can meet and exchange ideas and opinions. Start and develop a conversation around the topic. This might be an opportunity to promote and sell the book at the same time. I'm also exploring the street art route and wondering if I could print some stickers or posters with some of the pictures and spread them around Hackney in London, where street art is thriving. This module I've contacted several charities helping or representing Latin American people in the UK like IRMO and CLA UK, but they didn't get back to me. So I'm looking for other organizations and charities I could collaborate with. I've already worked with activist patients fighting to get access to proper treatment around Europe, or as a volunteer for the Lewisham Refugee Welcome Association and Bliss, the charity helping families with premature or sick babies. I've already fundraised for various causes like cancer research and the Macmillan Cancer Support Charity. It's just a question of finding the right charities or organizations. I started this photography MA to develop as an artist, but I do realize now that social documentary might be a path I want to explore further. It will be interesting for me to see where it leads.